Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diamond Drive Cup Round 5 here at soggy Nurburgring. I'm Jesse Lee. I'm here with Nate on the comms, and we've got Stewie, as always, behind the cameras. Hope you're doing fantastic on this very soggy Wednesday, and we are nearing the completion of this championship. Just 2 rounds to go today and next weekend, and we will have a champion. But Nate, we don't know who that champion's gonna be.
No, it's still all to play for. All the marbles are on the table. As it stands, though, the battle for the overall win in pro is 1 point. That is all there is separating between Anal Rose and Felipe Bokita. So hopefully, one of them at the end of this race will have a bit of a bigger advantage. So we'll have to see who can definitely use the weather to their advantage and get ahead.
Well, there was always the threat of rain at the Nurburgring. Series director Mike Jones alluded to as much. And, well, it is coming down in buckets. It is full wet here at the ring. I feel like the last 2 or 3 races I've done here on RCI at the ring have all been wet. But this is wet, but it is still very raceable. And, well, let's hope they got a lot of wet weather practice in this week.
I believe Anna Rose said in the chat that she's turned approximately 0 laps of practice and she's just going to arrive and drive. So it'd be interesting to see how she handles that one.
That will be very interesting, considering I don't think the same could be said for Felipe Bokita, who I reckon has done a little bit of practice here. And in qualifying, or not qualifying, in practice, I should say, is over a second quicker than anyone else in the field. It's, well, I've said in previous weeks, it could be a snooze fest for some of the top teams because they're not really competing against each other. But every time I've said that, we have had a surprise winner.
So, do you know what? I'm going to play the Uno reverse card today. We're gonna roll it sideways. We're going to flip it on its head. Every time we always try and make a prediction, the complete opposite happens. So what if today we make a prediction that we don't believe and see if the opposite happens?
I absolutely agree. The only problem with that is whomever you pick could... Do you know what? In the interest of it going right for them, Cupcake Racing is going to win this race simply because I don't want them to get squashed. That's my prediction.
See, what would my prediction will be? We're going to have a terrible race. It's going to be awful.
Oh, you can't say that. You can't. George Smith once stopped me in the middle of a live stream from saying just that because he didn't want that to be taken wrong. I get what you're saying.
I'm playing the Uno reverse card. Come on.
I know. Okay. So by saying that, what you mean is it is going to be a flawless race. Practice is officially over. All flying laps finishing up right before qualifying. How does qualifying work? Very simple. 30-minute session split into 2 15-minute periods. The pro and silver drivers will take the first 15 minutes. The AMs, as denoted by the red number placards, will take the final 15 minutes. And after that, we're going to go racing for an hour in the rain at the Nurburgring.
Yes, rain at Nurburgring. I'm going to be honest, there are definitely racetracks and weather conditions that I get more excited for as a driver than this. It's going to be absolutely awful for them, isn't it? It's going to be so tricky, especially the stadium section where the curbs are going to play absolute havoc with the rear stability of some of these cars as we get into qualifying.
Yes, we do. The pros and the silvers launching out of the pit lane. They have 15 minutes, and at the end of their 15-minute session, all those flying laps do count, of course. So the session does not end for them at the 15-minute mark. As long as they're on a quick lap, they are allowed to finish that lap. You talked about Rose, who had 0% practice here, decided to fly then drive at the ring today, and considering that they were still second was not bad at all. And you got to feel for Rose, though. A season that started out with such promise, such a dominating affair at Alton Park, and was dominant in several other races. Nate, they just didn't get the win.
No, it was surprising because I remember we talked about it, I think a few races ago, and after the first race, we had a quick chat with Ainur, and we asked her, "Do you think you can win every single race and just walk the championship?" And she was so confident. She said, "Yeah, I can do that, no problem." And since then, I don't think she's won a race. She's either been taken out or had contact, which has put her to, well, not the back of the field, but put her out of position, or a technical difficulty. So, unfortunately, through no real fault of their own, they've not had the chance to fight for those wins.
And that pretty much has been the tale of the tape ever since the opening gaudy win, indeed, at Alton Park, where they were literally the only car in the field that did not have trouble. But even Rose, coming, I think it was either on the final lap or the penultimate lap, was had a little off with a lapped car. But there you go again. See that chicane is so very difficult indeed to get around, especially in these tricky conditions. You want to put the power down, and you just kind of can't until you get the car going in a straight line. I don't envy any of our drivers today in round 5. This is subpar sort of track conditions here, but it is safe to race. My big worry is how many of these drivers, especially in the AM field, have ran a full wet race around the Nurburgring. If you're in the middle of this field, Nate, you're not going to be able to see anything.
No, it's going to be interesting into turn 1, isn't it? I mean, we've had dry races with plenty of action into the first corner. So with the wet, when your braking distances are extended even more, some of the spray stops you from seeing who's slowing down ahead of you. Or even like in a dry race, you can sort of see the cars ahead. The Constantina effect, where a few cars ahead of you start to slow down, then cars behind them slow down. You sort of get an idea that, okay, the field is stopping. But in the rain, you just can't see that. So chances of you rear-ending the car ahead of you as they suddenly appear are even greater than they would be, if the conditions were dry.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions of the Nurburgring. I love it personally. I love this track. It's actually one of the only modern F1 circuits I actually like, and I think it flows very nicely. It's weird to call it a modern F1 circuit, isn't it? It was built ever so long ago, but I consider anything built in my lifetime to be a modern F1 circuit. But I'll digress. I like it. I like the flow. I just hate having a race here in the rain, and that's probably due to my ineptitude as doing such. But still, you have to say, going back to the way the championship has gone, is I think we're going to see the 56 of Rose set the first lap and set the initial benchmark here. We're expecting a 2-minute something. But what 2-minute something will it be? As Rose crosses line, it's a 2-minute 1:9:35. That is the mark to beat. What will Bokita do immediately to the top of the field? A 0:1740, 2/10 quicker than Rose. Natalie Lee, love the name, comes to the line, 0:4950. Gobi slots into third place with an 0:2262, and Dove in fourth place with a 2.274. Those are your initial laps. And here comes Catherine Taylor with a 3.420. And Carlsvard coming to the line in sixth place, just the opening laps, of course, but a 3.753. And that's pretty much, actually, that's not pretty much everywhere. We got Horton and Erwin down there who have not set their lap. Here is Alice Horton for the Speed Kitty Motorsport. An 03420. 420 seems to be a common decimal point, as we will not get a lap for Sophie Erwin because of that spin right there, and that's exactly what I was talking about. Cami Sturch at a 05.061 near the bottom of the silver field. But Nate, that's what I was talking about. This track, for whatever reason, is very treacherous in the rain compared to, let's say, Spa, which you can almost get away with it.
I think it's more to do with the amount of curbing there is. I mean, obviously Spa has a lot of curbs, but as they expect a lot of rain at that location, the track is better suited to deal with those conditions. Whereas, well, I guess apart from that, the top of El Rouge, if you ever gone over there flat and hit the puddle, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, here it just seems there's a lot more standing water. You can see it on the cameras, the really, really, really shiny parts of the track. And again, like I said, the curbs, especially stadium section, not going to play well with these cars with this type of weather.
Well, Rose ran an 01.0 or an 01.095, making an 01.1 for argument's sake, and that is the quickest lap so far. Bokita comes to the line, cannot improve on that lap time. Can we say that Rose was playing possum maybe in practice with the whole, oh, well, I didn't practice, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of tactics, perhaps, as Catherine Taylor goes third at a 2.073. But everybody third back, about 1 second slower than our front two. The story here is going to be, can Bokita find the time and get back up there as Rose brings her car to pit road? Perhaps a tire change here and another attempt at it. Alice Horton goes back up to 6th place. What can Cami Sturts do? 13th currently, coming to line, improves 1 spot to 12th. 04938 for Sturts, still near the bottom of the silver field. Vandenberg is 13th. That is the last car to set a time. But this is the question. Can Felipa Bokita do anything in qualifying to take the top spot? They were more than a second quicker in practice, but practice doesn't usually mean anything.
Yeah, no points in practice and not as many points in qualifying. But Bokita seems to be up this lap. It doesn't quite look like it's going to be enough, but obviously time to be gained in the last corner. We'll have to see what it is when she crosses the line. Is it going to be close? Is she going to take it?
It's going to be close.
She does. Oh, a 2-minute dead 957. As we see a spin there for
Gobi!
Alice Gobi, or Alo Gobi, apologies. Alice Gobi, new name.
We were looking at Alice Horton and talking about Alu Gobi and Freudian slip there. But here is Alice Horton for Speed Kitty coming back around. God, I love the team names. If I take away anything from this series, number one, it's going to be, was the DDC a success? And the answer is absolutely. This championship, regardless of what happens today, is likely to go down to the wire next week. Everybody giving their all, great racing, interesting, drama-filled motorsport, and that's kind of why we watch motorsport, for the dramas. And whether that be on the track or not, and we have certainly had on-the-track drama, as Horton does improve, but is still in the 6th place position. But Cami Sturts coming to the line. But the other thing is has the DDC been a success? It has, because there has been so many different things that I have learned about ACC and motorsport that you think you know everything. Not that I think I know everything, just you think you've seen everything, and then absolute chaos unfolds. Could you imagine if you'd go back to week 1 with us, Nate, and say that, hey, by the way, the next 3 or 4 races in a row are going to have a surprise winner? I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. I would have definitely predicted what the top 2 would have been for the next few races, but I definitely would have changed the winner for those races. And like you said, it's been a complete surprise. It's been completely unknown. We never know now what's going to happen, because back markers can get involved, technical difficulties can crop up. It's so unknown, and it's not like Formula One these days, or even going back to 2010 and 2014, where Seb Vettel would rock up, we'd go, okay, he wins, who comes second? So again, with these drivers, we just don't know what any of the positions are going to be. We seem to have different people filling different positions every single week. The only thing that seems to be guaranteed is the fact that Fury April will qualify in with the high end of silvers, maybe low end of pro.
Very, very true. Well, we haven't seen it, but we assume because we've made it 4 rounds, and that's been the case every single time. Sophie Erwin goes to 8th place. A good improvement for the AKM Racing UK Bentley driver, 03.327, the quickest lap there for Erwin. Catherine Taylor leading silver currently over Horton, and Fox filling out the 3rd spot. Cami Sturch trying to get a quicker time on the board down near the end of their category, goes up a position into 12. It's going to stop the Team Ford Zilla Aston Martin and have a rethink in pit road. They will have time. Anybody that stops now, as Carlsbad goes 10th, they will have time to reset, maybe make some setup adjustments and go back out. The other big surprise for me this season, the big unknown going into the season, was having Pro, Silver, and AM at the same time, a big grid, 40-plus cars at some point. I was always in the back of my mind, was that a good idea? The drivers wanted it. I respect what the drivers want more than anything. If they say, hey, we want everybody together in this, we want to have a big race, or literally a big race, you got to respect that. But at the back of your mind, as commentator, you're thinking, is that going to work out? Well, has that worked out? Yes, I think the AMs have picked up their pace over the season a bit. I think they've learned a lot. They've learned multi-class or multi divisional driving, and a little bit better. They've been coached by a lot of these faster teams. We'll see what Nicole Fox does for next round racing in the 202. And no improvement there. Sarah Johnson may be on a fast lap for Pineapple.
I love it. Just nothing else, just pineapple.
It's just one word, and it looks like a pineapple, and that pineapple is going to be 12th place, knocking Cami back down to 13th. But I was worried about the AMs. I think the AMs have gained the most out of this championship. Other than me, I have absolutely earned an education here, as Alice Horton will improve, but not improve on their position. I think the whole thing has been pretty fantastic. I hope that there is a Diamond Drive Cup Season 2 at some point in the future. I would love to see what that looks like. I think a lot of these AM drivers would be promoted to Silver. I think a couple of these Silver drivers would be promoted to Pro, but I digress. That's in the future. I'm excited for the proposition of having another DDC in the future.
Yeah, I hope we get a Season 2, and I also hope that the attention this has generated promotes more people to come and join and have a go. It's not about winning. As long as you're here, you take part and you have fun. That's all we really want for these people. We just want people to get their foot in the door, to have access to sim racing. Obviously, everyone has access to it, but people might just be a bit scared, a bit too shy to attempt online racing for fear of, oh, what if I'm at the back? What if I crash into everyone? But that's not what this is about. It's here, take part, find out what sim racing's all about, and learn and gain new experiences. So I really hope in that sense we do have a Season 2, and I hope...
Oh! Rose has ending their final lap here that they could have run. They will not get around to run another lap, and here it comes out of the hairpin. Wet curb, gets on the curb, loses control trying to get back to the throttle, and Anal Rose will not go any further in this session, as Bokita with the 2 minute .957 lap. Bokita's still out on the track, by the way, is 1 second quicker than Dove. Now, I wonder, where did Rose go? Did Rose leave the session just now, Nate? Is that what happened?
It would seem that way. Maybe there's a deeper issue there again. We're not quite sure. Obviously, last week they had issues with their clutch pedal. Maybe those gremlins have returned. We will have to wait and see if we can hear anything.
Now that would be, oh, and once again, that hairpin is going to be Calamity Corner today, I feel like.
Yeah, we're going to see some really good moves into the hairpin, and we're going to see some really big accidents in the hairpin. Just depends which ones we see more of. I'm hoping for big moves.
Yes, indeed. Now, the story now we're following is Rose appears to have just, actually having that confirmed, that Rose has left the session. Very curious indeed to see if that was a mechanical issue or not. But all of the pros and the silvers have finished up their laps, or are. I think Cammy's going to be the last one across the line, and no, they haven't finished their lap. I think actually they're probably just going into pit road now that I think about it. But either way, the AMs have been released. And, well, the only thing predictable about the AMs this season is Fury April is going to be the measuring stick.
Yeah, we've seen it 4 times already. I would be surprised if we didn't see it a 5th time, considering they said that Barcelona was their weak track and then went and
what was up with
into
that?
P5.
Yeah,
So-
remind me, AM in the top 5, worst track. That's not good for the field.
No, absolutely not. So I can't recall them saying they didn't like Nurburgring. I just remember them saying they didn't like the rain. So we'll have to see what they can pull out.
But yeah, I as the AMs get back up to speed, or get up to speed to run their first time laps, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time getting to know drivers too. Again, I talked about early in the season, one thing that I'm always interested in is getting to know drivers and teams that I may not be aware of. And certainly I've done that. I'm a richer person because of it as well. Just to know some of these teams and get sim racers that I normally wouldn't interact with involved. I've been in contact with several people from DDC that recently raced R Factor 2. And these drivers will know this. What is one of the first questions I ask you when I interview you? I ask you, oh, I see you won an R Factor 2 championship. What do you think about that sim? It's because it is one that's very near to me, and I find it quite humorous, all the different responses they get. And everybody has, the human experience is very different for everybody, and very interesting to see everybody's background. And I just can't wait. There has to be a season 2 of this at some point. This is not the season finale, by the way. Season finale coming next week on Wednesday. We will crown 3 champions, Nate. 3 of them.
It's going to be, I wouldn't say intense, but it's going to be close in the battles. And we talked at the start how the pro gap was a single point, but I'm just getting some confirmation that Anor Rose has signed out for this race and the next race. So, without wanting to jump to a huge conclusion, it would seem that we may already have our pro class winner.
So, all that stuff I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to, Stewie, do your magic and replace it with this. The championship decided in the pro class because, rather unfortunately, we have lost our championship battle here today, and that's unfortunate. But, well, there are still 2 races, and if this championship has taught me anything, it is very unpredictable. So I'm not ready to let my guard down yet.
No, absolutely. There's still chances for other drivers to get ahead, to come back through. Even if it's not for the overall win, you could still score yourself a podium come the end of the season. Some of the battles a bit further down the field are really close between the drivers. So those few positions gained in qualifying and the few positions gained in the race can have a big difference on where you finally finish the season.
Fury April, as expected, the quickest AM driver. Swift Sharks AMG getting it done up inside the top 10. Witcher second, Lab third as they run. And then we have Fair and May behind them. Edwards, Delcina, Riot, Plo, and Reyna are the top so many drivers. Well, here is Verena May, CMS Pro AMG. Looking like they're going to improve upon their time quite a bit here, perhaps. We'll have to see when they come to the line. This could be good enough for a provisional podium spot. See, 335 comes to the line. What do they get? And they do. They slot in to the third podium spot for May that lap, and everything very fluid here. Annalisa Riot coming to the line. Had some difficulty in the chicane. Definitely would have lost some time there. But let's see. And 22nd, a 207.908. Can I say lesbian freak show on the internet? Can I say that? But that is the name of that team, the number 17 Ferrari.
That's it. The channel's been demonetized.
Oh dear, and look what Sarah Fair has done. I don't know if Sarah Farrell watches the stream back after the race is over, and Sarah hears what we say, but definitely having fun with their team name. They started out as Cupcake Racing, then they were Squished Cupcake Racing, and then they were Atomized Cupcake Racing. Well, it's raining this week, Nate, so they're Damp Cupcake.
The soggiest cupcake, but yeah, I wonder if they do get inspirations. We'll have to investigate. We'll have to ask and see, because it's great to see, though, that they have a watch of the stream back. They get ideas for new team names, and then we get to talk about it and have a bit of a laugh with them.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I haven't talked to Sarah Fair since week 1 personally, but I do find it very funny that they're changing their name depending on what. Up until this point, it had been depending on what had happened to them the previous week. And the reason we document Cupcake Racing is they raced well. They've just had the worst possible luck.
Yeah, what was it? Imola? Imola was a bad race for them. Imola was definitely
Well, it started out so good, and then it just, well, you know what happened. They turned into a smashed cupcake.
An atomized cupcake. That was the
that
was one we got in the chat, wasn't it? One of our watchers suggested that one, and it was taken on board.
Everybody telling me now that the channel is completely gone. Well, I can't help it. The team name was there, and I have to look. I have to report. We're technically, Nate, we're reporters, and we have to be unbiased here. And in my unbiased opinion, I think that's fine. I think you can say that. But either way, a little less than 6 minutes left in qualifying as Edwards slots into the 20th place spot. It's good for about 6th, I think. 6th in the AM class. As everybody trying to improve upon their times. I don't think anybody, and call me crazy here, I don't think anybody's going to catch April or Witcher for that matter. They've been the class of the field most of the time. But that all being said, Robertson has slotted into the 3rd place position in AM. May 4th, Anderson 5th, Delcina in the 6th place position there. Will be interesting too for me is after we've had some longer races here at RCI recently, and we've seen a lot of these drivers participate in those as part of a team. And any way to introduce some of these AMs and some of the silvers to RCI's brand of GT racing and get them involved with other teams. That's been fantastic to see them on display. I think the other thing that they've accomplished with this championship too is how many times have we had people in chat or people asking, oh, I'd love to do this, but I'm so slow. And well, that's not the point. The point is the taking part. We have classes for everybody here. We have splits for everybody here most of the time. Your skill level is, well, sort of rather besides the point. Join in, qualify in, and get matched with people that you can race with. And I think for the vast majority of AMs here, it has been a great success, as I believe April might be on a quicker lap. Even still, how far up the field can April start?
I think any higher, and it's should be insta promotion for the start of the race. Not even for the next race, just the start of this race, just insta promotion, platinum level, platinum rank.
I reckon April's going to be the only driver in RCI history to go from AM, as April does improve to 6th place, 02.295. That's properly quick. I think April's going to be the only driver to promote from AM to Pro after one season. I don't think that's ever happened here before, but it might with Fury April.
No, Fury April is properly rapid. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't get a promotion, because at this point they're not fighting with their class, they're fighting with the class above them, and even then sometimes, you know, threatening the edge of Pro. So I think it would be more healthy for the competition in AM in the long run, and it would be really good to see what April could do in the class above when maybe their skills and their driving's being pushed that little bit harder, because that's the only way you improve, is when you have really sturdy and really firm competition.
Just trying to figure out what happened for the qualifying event or the qualifying process that put April in the AM class in the first place, considering they have been properly quick the entire season. Reina, by the way, also very quick in that Honda, that 828. They have promoted themselves out of the basement of AM up into the 4th place starting position in that class. So not bad at all. And just as Deb Lab for CMS Pro AMG promotes themselves to 5th in the 316.
I figured it out, Jesse. I know what it is. Fury April has taken the leaf out of Mercedes' testing strategy and just put the sandbags in for the pre-qualifying. And now the actual events are here. They've taken the sandbags out. That's it. They're in the Mercedes. They've copied Mercedes. That's it. It's so obvious. How did we not see it?
Anderson for the hashtag Trans Rights Are Human Rights team is going to take the 3rd place position for AM and the number 2. Merck getting it done there. I didn't expect that out of Anderson, but there we have it. 3rd place so far. But yeah, I once knew somebody, and I will not throw them under the bus simply because I know they still race. But one thing they do, or they used to do definitely, back perhaps about a decade ago, is they would make it so their gas pedal only went about 95% of the way down. And you may think that would be easy to catch if you're cheating. You're right, but nobody looked, nobody assumed or cared that you would intentionally attempt to slow yourself down. So in practice, they would intentionally practice without their full throttle, and then they would remove whatever blockage. I think it started out, and keep in mind this was a long time ago. It was like a piece of corrugated cardboard. They just removed that from the back of their throttle pedal and immediately have all of their throttle back again for qualifying. They do that every time in practice. It used to annoy the absolute heck out of me. I knew they were doing it, but there wasn't anything wrong with it. But it would just annoy me that they would do that on purpose just to throw people off. Charlotte Robertson comes across the line in the Fur Racing number 11 Lexus, picking up a few spots. Yes, and so Stewie also brings something up too. A modern take on that is a lot of people will practice on a full tank of fuel, and that is very true. Indeed, and that slows them down.
I'm guilty of that. Are you guilty of that, Jesse?
I'm not answering questions about Watergate, but what I will say as Edwards comes to the line and proves to 21st place, I would never sandbag ever. I would never do that. I will say humorously, and Ryan Gill doesn't know this, and if he's watching this, Ryan Gill and I and George Smith, in fact, we qualified for a racing event on another network, and I might have qualified my times on full fuel. I will admit that. After the fact that I think Ryan Gill or George Smith or both told me to not do that, and I did it anyway. So, might have done that. But for Fury April, it's looking like another pole position, sliding it out of the chicane, having a little fun. Well, you know,
And pits.
it can be a treacherous drive, or it can be a beautiful slide, depending on how you look at it.
Or sometimes one of those oh crap moments into a oh yeah moment, as I like to call it.
I have definitely went from a Code Brown to I meant to do that before. That's definitely happened. What can Witcher do? Witcher 2, no improvement, but we'll start 13th overall. April up in 6th place. We'll take some doing to get to that point, but not impossible. Not impossible indeed. And that surprise lap by Anderson, putting them in the 3rd place spot, as all the AMs have finished qualifying. And there you have the entire grid for today's wet race at the Nurburgring. All the drivers now getting set to go out for 1 hour, 1 hour in the wet. Mandatory pit stop required, adding a liter of fuel. Well, we talked about the championship, and she has certainly taken a change here in the last 15 minutes due to the events of qualifying here today, with Rose signing out for the remainder of the championship. We assume that will hand the championship over to Felipa Bokita, who has been so very opportunistic and crafty and consistent these past 4 weeks. I believe we are going to show you the standings as they come into round 5. Yes, indeed. Well, here they are. As mentioned, this is the state of things today. As Nate pointed out, 1 point between Bokita and Rose. That is going to change right now, as Rose in the 56 has withdrawn from the event and indeed the championship. Sarah Dove in 3rd place. For all the troubles that Dove has had, will likely be on for a 2nd place in the championship. Schmidt 4th, Gobi 5th, Vicky Thompson, who has been here for a couple of rounds, and Mia Rose, who withdrew after only the 1 race in the championship. That's all the pros. Moving on to silver. Fox has been dominating the silver championship over Catherine Taylor. Alice Horton rounds out the podium positions, but it gets a bit closer from there. Erwin only a few points back from Horton in 4th place. Natalie Lee, Cami Sturch, Jenny Kamugli are all fairly close together. And then you've got Yvonne Vandenberg and April Carlsvard, 1 point separated, and only a few points back is Charlie Martin, though Charlie Martin is also not here today. And that is your top 10 in silver. These are the drivers a bit further back: Sarah Johnson, Sarah Moore, Austin, and Savage. These are the drivers that have not turned up for a lot or any of the rounds, in fact, in the case of the 14th place driver. But here is the AM field. Fury April has absolutely dominated AM. Sarah O'Brien, who is also not here today, So they will likely lose the second place to Witcher in third place. Witcher will likely become second, and even maybe Sketch Reina will be third overall. But behind them, rank setter in fifth place. Behind them, May Edwards, a little bit of distance between them. Anderson and Fair fairly close. And of course, Fair and Delcina are tied at 120 points apiece back there in co-ninth place, we'll call it. And here are the final AM drivers. Actually, yes, indeed. So Riot, Plo, Robertson, Deb Lab, who qualified very well here today, McKeehan, who I did not see in qualifying, and Sparks. These are all fairly close together. Everything to play for, positions will matter. And of course, Davids and Maurer, who are not here and have not taken part in the championship full time. And that is your full rundown of the championship standings. 2 rounds to go, including today. And for a lot of these AM drivers, still a lot to play for them, and indeed silver as well. For the Pro Series, well, it doesn't look like it's going to be a grandstand finish for them, despite the fact that the races to this point have been. But if you are Felipe Bokita, Nate, you have to stay on your game, because you know what has been happening to Rose can happen to you at any time, and indeed did to Bokita in round 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Any slip up, or if you get taken out and it ruins your race, any points lost now for Bokita will count, as I believe they're going to take the first round Oldham Park as their drop round. So Bokita needs to score as many points as possible to just extend the gap to well, what is effective now Dove in second place, and just try and keep a healthy lead going, because it is possible. It's unlikely, but it is possible that Dove could overhaul Bokita in the points table and take a surprise victory in the pro class.
Well, we have been treated to surprise winners all season long, and it's always come down to mistakes and accidents that have caused the dramas. And, well, for the kind of people that say that, oh, I don't like dramas in my motorsport, well, why do you like watching boring races? You must be a Formula One fan. Anyway, moving right along from that comment, I enjoy my motorsport with a pinch of drama and a lot of competition. Well, folks, that is what we have been treated to this season here in the Diamond Drive Cup. Well, all the drivers, all the teams ready to do battle here. Rain was in our chat earlier. They gave us the heads up that in comparison to practice, the track was in a lot better condition in qualifying, Nate. So obviously, if that has carried over to the race, that could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. Could give you a false sense of security.
Yeah, I didn't catch practice, so I wasn't quite sure what the conditions were like. I knew they were wet, but I don't know to which degree of wet it was. But if it stays moderately consistent with the weather, so if it just stays wet, the drivers will have a much easier time than if it becomes these horrible changeable conditions where you sort of get that weird dry line on the track, which is too dry for your wet tires to work efficiently, but still too wet for the dry tires to work, and you just end up not knowing where to go. So for the driver's sake, I hope it just stays consistently wet, but from where we sit in our lovely warm commentary box, I hope it is changeable to see who can make the best out of the changeable conditions, because pitting at the right time, or even just making the best of certain tires in the conditions, will definitely gain you a net couple of places if you time it right.
It very well could. Well, everybody here has to do a mandatory pit stop, add 1 liter of fuel into their cars. No tire change mandatory, but so often here in these wet races, we see somebody gamble on a compound change or just a fresh set of boots. Don't know if that's going to happen here today, but it is very possible that somebody in the field may gamble and see how it works. We have seen in some instances newer tires are quicker. It's just the race is only 1 hour, and it's so short that the sort of the crossover or the overlap on the tires being worth it don't necessarily get to that point. And certainly we've not seen it come to that yet. But today of all days in the weather, it could very much be that day. Felipe Bokita in the 326. It's okay to not be okay. 720 McLaren will lead them to the green today with an unfamiliar second place starter, Sarah Dove, in the 177 Lamborghini. 2x2 around the corner, and as far as the eye can see, we're getting ready to go racing in the rain here at the Nurburgring. The flagman has the flag. Indeed, he waves it. The lights go out, and we're racing here at the Nurburgring in the Diamond Drive Cup. Bokita gets a fantastic run down to the inside. Dove on the outside maintains the position.
Oh, and there's contact in the back.
There is indeed. It looks like Pineapple and the 888 involved before they get to the turn. Most everybody else makes it away cleanly indeed as the top few runners file out in the order in which they started the race, but behind them, they are still 2x2.
Yep, your cupcake seems to have survived so far, much to all of our enjoyment. But yeah, it seems as we see an accident in the back. It was the cupcake car. I jinxed it.
Why, Nate? Why do you hate me so much?
I did it. I was about to say, relatively clean so far. We've only one collision between the two cars, but then we had a second incident just at the back. But other than that, seems to be all away as everyone's still bunched up. We still have half the lap to go to see where everyone filters out.
Nate, we're going to have a stern conversation after this race. That I think they're going to be the soggy and squished cupcake for the final round after what just happened there. But meanwhile, Sarah Fair, something has happened to. Oh no, excuse me, it hasn't happened to Bokita. The timing and scoring on the first lap just being a bit weird, as it normally is. Bokita and Dove line up 1-2. Gobi and April. April made it from 6th place up to the 4th place position, knocking Taylor and Fox down a few positions. This is Fury April's Swift Sharks car looking back at the leading silver. This is such a strange situation. This is the leading AM car looking back at the leading silver car. Both of these in the top 5, not in the order you would assume they would be in. And Catherine Taylor will likely be looking to get by April whenever the opportunity strikes, because Taylor has Fox. That's Fox right behind them. That is for the lead in silver.
Yeah, it's really, really racy already. I wasn't quite expecting the moves to be coming on this early as we see Fox go for the inside. Taylor very wisely sees it coming and leaves space, and that's the position gained for Fox.
Well, there is the Sarah Johnson Pineapple Bentley, who I believe was the one that was involved. I'd love to see a replay of the start to see exactly what did happen. Several takers into pit road immediately. Plo, Rangsetter, and others in the pit lane. The 818 is quite far back of the field, but did not pit. Most of the field, rather besides, are still together. Cami Sturch up inside the top 10 for Team Fordzilla. And here is the start of the race. The GTR off. That's what we saw. And I am...
So that was the contact between the 888 Pineapple Racing car and the GTR there. And there was further contact a bit further on. But as we see now, Vandenberg getting pretty close to the back of this little battle between Johnson and Rayner.
Well, of course, everybody fighting for overall position. Overall position doesn't give you points. Your class gives you points. But these are all racing drivers, and they don't really care about that. They care about finishing as high up as they can. So that was Ginny Kamugli, who got sent for a ride down in turn 1. Turned towards the Mercedes grandstand, but here it is. We're going to ride on board Sarah Johnson's 888 Pineapple. We're going to see exactly what happened. Oh, I see the pink and blue Bentley came over a little bit, perhaps under braking, hit a puddle, perhaps, and it all went a bit wrong.
Yeah, a couple of these drivers running special liveries today, so we're a bit confused about which cars are which. In celebration of the official Transgender Awareness Day, which is obviously to celebrate and commemorate the trans people in our communities. And as we have a few of them in this championship, we did allude a few weeks back that Cami Sturge was the first transgender racer for a professional esports team. So, like I said, some of these races running special liveries to commemorate that and just to show their respect to their fellow trans sim racers.
Well, my apologies indeed. I noticed the livery change, but I did not correlate that was due to the date on the calendar, and that is very much my bad, as a lot of these teams here are they're getting a bit racy. So the track, what does this tell me, Nate? This tells me that the track is raceable right now. You don't have to follow in line now. It is not that bad out there, and you can race others.
No, you don't have to race in line, but you're definitely going to want to. The as we see what happens now if you get offline, or is this a so
okay.
So your cupcake collects Sarah Johnson and then gets
they were still
tap
wrecking
from the Lexus.
Yep, they were still wrecking back there. That accident continued to happen past the end of that replay. That was a long one, and oh man, some of these flat corners in the wet, I think that's what makes this track so difficult, is some of the flat corners, they can catch you out.
Yeah, as we were saying, you can not follow in a line, but being on the racing line, at least on the straights and in the fast corners, is where you're going to want to be, because if you come off the racing line, it can get a bit squirrely, you can get a little bit out of shape, and you can either lose time or lose the car completely. As we see Erwin lining up a move on Rayner, just going to get a little bit later on the brakes, try and go around the outside, which gives her the inside for the next corner. A little bit off the track, and they're both off the track now. Well, the world's most expensive lawnmowers. As we see Rayner rejoin and collect. Was that Sarah Johnson again? They've really been in the wars.
I don't think it was, but I hope not. Oh yeah, so that's just, oh dear. Yeah, just calamity there in the final corner. I believe I saw a Schumacher do that once.
Cami Sturch, unfortunately, just out braking herself. Probably a little bit of a lock up on the wet stuff as she rejoins just out of the way, holds position.
Smart decision that, though. If you're going to lock up, don't attempt to turn. If you know you're clear, don't attempt to turn. Just drive through it, regroup, and be safer about it. Don't try to apex it and just run straight off. Go ahead and just lock it down, get it stopped. But of course, you don't have that option all the time. If you're racing somebody, you kind of have to attempt to avoid incident. What happened to Rangsetter here? I noticed the 818 was well down the order, and this is indeed why a punt to pass maneuver, as cars going off the track everywhere in the hairpin. I thought hairpin was going to be Calamity Corner, but that's the biggest and only event that I've noticed that happened down there, and that is why the 818 was so far back earlier, as Sarah Dove in second place is getting hounded by Gobi. This is for second overall and second in class. Dove and Gobi both racing for something here, Nate. For points, they could potentially benefit huge here.
Yeah, absolutely. Gobi looking really, really racy on the rear wing of this Lamborghini. I'm really excited to see how this is going to unfold, actually. I don't think I've seen these two this close together. There's normally... That was close, wasn't it? There's normally some sort of accident which takes one or the other driver out and away from their normal battles. As it looks at the moment, everyone is sort of in the battles that they normally have. So, again, I really want to see, because it looks like that Gobi is just ever so slightly quicker than Dove, but just cannot find a way around the rather large rear end of that Lamborghini.
What happened? What manner of things happens here? It's going to be a pass just off the racing line is the 19, and that is going to give way to Pineapple, as I've taken to call it. I don't know why I do that. It's not like it's capitalized, but that's what appears in my head, Nate, and so I do very
just get
much
so
apologize.
excited for pineapple.
I do enjoy a nice pineapple. So
It's a good drink.
why is
It's not good on pizza.
what I just Nate, you and I agree on that. I don't like hot pineapple. What is if you eat hot pineapple, especially next to pizza sauce and sausages? What is wrong with you? Also, pineapples aren't apples, so I don't understand why they're
But they're
called
not pine
that.
cones either.
Okay, we're going to go down a rabbit hole here, so I digress. It is nice to see competition between Dove and Gobi up in the top podium positions, but here is a battle not for class but for overall position. Speed Kitty Motorsports' Alice Horton would very much like Delcina's spot. Delcina doing well into second place in the AM class, which are down to third. But, meanwhile, Fury April, fourth place on their own island. They're actually being hounded by Natalie Fox right now for the fifth place position. Nate, if you're in this position where you're in front of a different class of car and they may be catching you, do you race them or do you get out of the way as we see more carnage here on the flat? Oh, was that Sturch? I think it might have been.
Yeah, it was Sturch, Horton, and one other, which I didn't quite see. I think that was Sophie Erwin that was off the track to start for that. But to go back to your question, it depends. If I'm faster than the car behind me, regardless of their class, I'm not going to get out the way. But
what if you're
they
the same pace?
If I'm the same pace, then you can stay behind me, unless I make a mistake, and then you can go past me.
Oh dear, I love it.
See Alice Horton, queen of the dive bombs, sends one.
Really?
Well, half sends one. Yeah. Did you not see the moves at Imola?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I just don't know if you should say that.
It's fine. I've okayed it with Alice.
Oh, have you? All right.
Yeah, she chuckled when I said that she was the queen of the dive bombs, and she said she was waiting to see how long a nickname would come up for that. So there it is.
Dive bomb queen. There you go. I don't want to, like, I wouldn't call Bokita the stick, as in the measuring stick, because I don't want people to think that, oh, well, it's impossible to beat somebody. And I wouldn't call somebody the dive bomb queen because that has connotations of, oh, they're gonna run me through the corner, aren't they? But well, Mikey Plo has had an off. Was this a single car incident? Looks like it is going to be. Just going off the track there, gets on the gas on the full wet, and you can't do that. And a trip to the tire wall.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's these curbs. I said it at the start. They're just lethal. They're horrible. I'm so glad no one's in the Porsche, because I will tell you from personal experience.
No kidding.
As soon as it gets as soon as there's moisture in the air, it doesn't even have to touch the track. The Porsche just goes, oh, spin? We're going to spin now? Time to spin? It's like an excited dog, and it just wants to send you backwards all the time. I hate it. Can you tell I'm a little bit bitter?
Yeah, I've noticed that ever so slightly. I agree with you on the Porsche. It is very lethal. We did a fairly lengthy endurance race here. I don't know if this was the beginning of this year or the end of last year. I think it was the end of last year, where we had Porsches racing up inside the top 5, and then all of a sudden it started raining here, and they were not in the top 10 anymore. And I think one of them rage quit because it was just so frustrating. Jenny Camugli in the Gayzilla GTR. Absolutely love it as well. Making a pass there up to 15th. Count it for Camugli over Anderson.
Was having a better time here than they did at Imola with their invisible car. I bet poor old Jenny had PTSD at the start of this race when they got collected.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it, though, Nate? It makes you think, like, oh no, is it happening again?
Yeah, absolutely. As we see Horton, half dive bomb, semi-dive bomb, dive bomb maybe? No, just a nice overtake
Dive
on the
bomb
inside.
queen confirmed. But that's not really a dive bomb. That was just a well pointed move. I mean, for me, a dive bomb is a move that you have no chance of making it without forcing somebody off. But that was a lot of these moves.
That's where we differ then.
Oh, see, a lot of these moves from Alice just seem calculated to me. Oh, not calculated in the hairpin there. Got a little loose.
Calculated dive bomb then. How about that one? Does that sound
I
less
like
punty
it.
to you?
I like it.
Yeah, there we go.
I like it. But that's what I get. That's what you get from Horton. You're going to get these moves of like, I am going to figure out the latest a human being can break, and I'm going to break at that point. And Cammy Sturts getting a little sideways, a little drift comp. They do drift comps in the southern loop here throughout the summer. They do have drift comps, but well, it is only spring, and this is a GT3 race. Other than that, lovely stuff. I love seeing a driver get sideways and catch it and not lose time to the person in front of them. That is absolute pro driving there.
Yeah, absolutely. But you definitely tense a little bit. As soon as you feel it, the wheel get a little bit light, you're like, oh, and then it grips and you're like, oh, okay, relax. It's over. We can carry on.
I'm sorry, what noise was that?
It's the noise of pure panic.
I definitely can attest to going from a code brown to I meant to do that moment. Sarah Johnson and Pineapple trying to make a pass on Witcher here, trying to catch up to Sturge to fight for the next position in silver. And position gained, 11th place for Witcher, 1 place closer.
I can't believe we've got a wet race on one of the most awkward tracks, and we've seen the least amount of comings together that we've had for the whole series.
Yeah, in America, we have a saying. I don't know how universal this is, but we say rain is the great equalizer, because it slows the pace down and it magnifies mistakes. So generally speaking, we assume here in the U.S., if it's a wet weather race, the times are going to be a lot closer and the racing's going to be a lot closer, because instead of going 100% or 95%, you're forced to go at about 80%, and somehow that brings everybody a bit closer together. And it shows who your rain masters are, or as Stewie would say, the rain meisters. And Cammy Sturge going for a forceful overtake there. Gets it done on Delcina. Delcina will not appreciate that very much, but position gain for Cammy.
Yeah, it's good. It did seem that Cammy was slightly faster through some of the corners than what Delcina was, so now it's just freed her to chase down Horton, and hopefully we'll see another battle between those two.
Oh, getting completely sideways. Sophie Erwin coming out of the chicane, trying to get everything they can. And that's a dangerous maneuver in this weather, but it looked good, and it gained them time. As we go up to 5th place, Catherine Taylor. It's got Carlsbad behind. What happened here? Is this an overtake? Oh, yes. Oh,
that was
my.
Close. My
properly
goodness.
Close. Properly close, but Catherine Taylor taking the 5th spot by just that much without creating contact.
Yeah, that was close on that. I don't think you could have even fit a piece of paper between the two of them then. That was so unbelievably close. But unfortunately
Fox
for Fox,
Fox has already retaken that spot, though. I just noticed. Oh wait, no. Okay,
nope,
never mind.
The timing table was just slow to update.
Okay. As it turns out, that timing table.
Okay, everyone, confirmed live on stream. Jesse Lee is a dirty liar.
Yeah, I did. The timing screen at the time of that statement said that the Audi was back in front, but I guess it they hadn't got to the line yet. So correction made. Catherine Taylor now driving away from Fox in the 5th place position.
On board with Vandenberg. And I'd just like to say I've had a chat with Vandenberg before the race, and I'd like to just give a special mention to what an absolutely incredible feat it is that Vandenberg races with us in this series. Unfortunately, they were born with the disease scoliosis, and they had surgery a few years ago, and since their surgery they've had no feeling in their legs or feet. So to be able to press pedals with no feeling, and I've seen some of their inputs, they're not on and off each pedal like it's a switch. There is actual modulation to the pedal, and to do that with no feeling is an incredible feat. So hats off to Vandenberg for being here and for taking part.
Yeah, that is definitely no small feat, and I'm very familiar with the disease, and I gotta say, my hat's off. There, again, as one of the things about the DDC, I mentioned earlier, becoming richer people, you and I, for being a part of this, being allowed to be a part of this, and them, well, first of all, welcoming us in. I mean, Nate, you and I have had about 500,000 questions since this season started, and the approachableness of all the drivers and the teams, and the willingness to talk about not only their race cars but themselves, has been a very truly humbling experience. And hats off indeed to Vandenberg. I cannot imagine dealing with something like that, and to come out here and compete on the level that they are doing is incredibly impressive. So this whole series is full of amazing people, but that might be the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I couldn't quite believe it when she was telling me. I thought it was just so incredible, because the fact that they're still competitive, you know, I mean, obviously everyone of all shapes, sizes, and disabilities can come and take part, but obviously certain disabilities will slow you down. There's no way around that. It's just the way the cards will fall. But to not have any feeling in your legs or feet, and to be able to modulate the pedal the way she does, is it's truly incredible.
Yes, indeed. As we see Delcina, who is in a scruff of trouble here. Natalie Lee would like the top 10 spot. Delcina has it. Lee wants it. And there's going to be a car in front of him. It's going to cause a crash. Big crash. Slide through the elbow. And Delcina off with a big accident. Contact with several cars. Natalie Lee's going to get that position by default, but contact in front of them. We're going to see a replay of that. This happens trying to avoid the AMG. Gets onto the dirt. Contact with that AMG. Everybody else continues. But Delcina, a scary moment there, and damage, significant so that you can see it on the front of that AMG. And a good day has gone to pot here. I would say early, but it's getting towards the middle of the race now.
Yeah, we are coming up to, well, not quite halfway, but we're a little bit over a quarter of a way. So we're a little bit in no man's land at the moment. But unfortunately, yeah, just you get on the wet stuff and you get a little bit of a slide, and it's one of those horrible slides where it's just so slow. You just hold it and hold it and hold it, but you can still feel the car starting to rotate in a direction you don't want it to, and then unfortunately it gets away from you, and then you go off.
By the way, for those of you that heard that very strange sound, we all heard that too. We're being told by producer Stewie that it was in the sim. It was something in the sim that made that noise, which makes sense because we all heard it. And it scared the crap out of me personally.
Honestly, I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say shaken, but it definitely scared the life out of me. I can't quite refocus after that.
We can confirm that whatever that was, it maybe a backfire or something. It was everybody's okay, and that was nothing from Nate or me or anybody else. As Ranksetter is just having a day to forget here. Started out with a bit of promise, and immediately was involved in an incident, and here just misses the final turn. Gets onto the very slippery part of the track, that shiny stuff, as Nate said. And Nate, you absolutely nailed it. You want to stay on the darker material, and just loops it around there. Does a smart thing, though. Sits there, waits for a break in traffic, and turn 1 DDC's Ranksetter back out there again. Reina got a position, top 15. Got around Anderson.
Yeah, it looks like, is that the position? Is there an issue with that McLaren, or are they just maybe being a little bit tentative into the chicane? Not quite sure where. So, well, they're coming in. So, Jesse, to the speed they had, would you suggest damage, or maybe, like I said, just cautious into the chicane?
Yeah, it could be. It very much could just be cautious. I mean, I'm never quicker in the wet, and I'm very slow. I typically sort of err on the side of caution in the wet because for me, it's easier to go slower and not chance anything than it is to push it and potentially get yourself in a very slow slide. It could be that. It also could be damage achieved. And by the way, Bokita has been into someone or something, and I think I can't confirm if it was a single car incident or not, but according to the timing screen, something happened to the 326, and well, the evidence is the nose of that McLaren.
Yeah, by the fact that they're fairly far ahead and we haven't had lap traffic yet, I'd say it was a solo incident. Oh no, I'm wrong. It was lap traffic.
Oh yeah, indeed. Oh no. Yeah, well there you have it. Because I noticed that Bokita was way like 10 plus seconds there, about somewhere in there, and then all of a sudden they were 6 seconds in front. So this is exactly what we talked about, even for Bokita, who is merely attempting to run the laps. It is not that simple.
Jesse, do you know what time it is? It's time for Nate commentating bingo, where he says one of his famous catchphrases where it's back markers are going to decide the winner of this race. You can cross that one off.
Well, it's a funny joke, Nate, but it's also been very true for the entirety of this series.
It's no joke. It really, really is true.
It very is true, yeah. Oh, it's a sad reality, but it's a reality that, oh no, Sophie Erwin and the 818 are going to come to contact, and Rangsetter is just having a terrible day, and Erwin can't quite get it spun around the right way. They'll roll and get going, but the 818 is sort of making themselves friendly with a lot of the competitors, put it that way.
Maybe not quite happy with the color of the other cars, decided to put a little bit of their paint on their competitors. Change the color of your car.
But by the way, again, that noise that you guys heard earlier, we're very sorry. We do apologize for startling you. It's nothing that we did. It's something to do with the sim, and it happens. Well, it's a bit like Halley's Comet, isn't it? It comes around once every 77 years or something like that. It has happened before, but it doesn't make it any less obnoxious or unsettling. But yeah, it's something to do with the audio at the racetrack, and it occasionally fouls up a bit, and you get all of the audio at one time. And that's pretty much what happened there. But just to repeat, we do apologize for that if that unsettled anybody, but it is just part of the sim. It do be like that sometimes, as I would say. Banditberg getting a place here. Once again, seeing a car stray off of the black onto the shiny. The shiny meaning the wettest part of the track, and that will cause a problem. Well, it is raining. It is fully wet, and it will not change. The track does have a nice, I wouldn't say dry line, but a nice raced in line. Do you think anybody would be crazy enough to put on dry tires and give it a shot?
No, absolutely not. You can still see that it's still raining pretty heavily. The information we've got says that it's not going to stop raining, as we see May.
What happened here? Let me guess, more curb action. Yep, same place we saw Rangsetter go off and collect the leader. Very easy to do. That sort of curb, the green part of it, very, very slippery indeed. Even slippier than the red and white part of it. Riding on board with the leader Bokita, carrying a bit of damage, still building on the lead over Dove. Dove, by the way, did eventually gap Gobi by a few seconds. But this is your leader driving around here now. What will be going through Bokita's mind now, Nate? Collected in an accident, not of their making. They know you can feel damage like that because that was hard enough hit. You can feel it. But look at this. Very interesting indeed. Bokita going all the way into the wet line. Does that not tell you that the tires are a little hot?
It does tell me the tires are a little hot, but it's nowhere near ready for the dry tires. It's maybe there's just a little bit too high of a pressure in her tires. It could be a multitude of factors, or maybe she's just trying to eke out the performance by keeping them cool, not overheating them, to try and take them longer and have fresher tires towards the end of the race.
Perhaps a bit concerning there. And just as I talked about Dove pulling away from Gobi, Gobi closed down nearly half a second on Dove in one sector. So maybe Dove had a little bit of a moment there, as now starting to reel in a bit, perhaps. There they are. That is Dove's Lamborghini in front. Oh, that is such a brave choice. A Lamborghini in the wet.
Yeah, but it's no Porsche in the wet.
Well, yes, but you don't see any Porsches here, so that's
No one was crazy enough. But no, I do agree. It's I think the Lamborghini, even though realistically based on the same platform as the R8, it just feels different to the Audi R8. So I'm more interested to see how Fox is getting on with their race. As I personally believe the R8 to be a little bit more of a wilder car than the Lamborghini.
Oh, I see. I can't disagree with that. I forgot about that. Yeah, I believe you're very right indeed. As these two continue to close in, Gobi, I don't know why I ever talk about anything. I literally saw the gap go out and out for Dove, and all of a sudden now it is game on for Elu Gobi in the Map 1 Racing, and they are going to duck in. This is a smart move. I love this move. Very tactical indeed out of the number 21 McLaren. They had caught Dove. Go in, do your mandatory stop, try the undertake, and get it over with. Do not slow yourself down by being stuck behind a car you're racing. I love that move. And here is Sarah Fair, who has been an atomized cupcake, has been a damp cupcake today, and has been a stepped on cupcake, I think is what happened early in this race. But finding their own pace in 25th, as just paying attention, Sophie Erwin back in 24th place in that Bentley is the next car in line. But all of these cars have done their mandatory pit stop, so they are good to go to the finish. The only one back here that hasn't done that is Rangsetter, and we documented Rangsetter's terrible day. Gobi out of pit road. Fox also in the 202 Audi, pitting, getting their stop done at the halfway point. The 333 stopped on the track up here somewhere. Or is that the 335 perhaps? I don't know if we have a 333.
Oh, I think they've retired the car.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes, that is the 333. That is Mikey Plo in the 333 AMG. They have towed to pit road. The rain, not... what happens here? Oh, is this... This is not a replay of the previous incident, is it? Did this just happen? Oh, yes. So that was the previous incident that we saw. That was not a new incident, but that was the other side of that. After the contact was made in the elbow, there was a further spin in the chicane.
Mike Jones is threatening me with a server mute if I carry on talking about a certain Ferrari with a certain pink, blue, and yellow color scheme that represents a certain item of food. So to keep myself safe, I am not going to mention any cars apart from the pineapple car that represent food.
Pineapple. Why does he not want you to talk about the delicious...
Nope, don't say it.
Handheld baked good with frosting?
Because the one moment I mentioned that the certain car in question that we're not naming did okay, they suddenly no longer did okay. And I've angered Mr. Mike Jones. As well as half the chat, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not... I think everybody pulls for the cupcake car because it is... it legitimately You have to wonder what came first, the name or the paint scheme, right? Because it is so perfect for what it is. Well, here is your leader. This is Felipe Bokita, damage on the nose, showing you the damage done on an incident that occurred right here. I think it was Rainsetter who spun out right in front of the leader. Bokita not able to take avoiding action, damage there. Not terrible, mind you, but it has slowed them down. They were about 7 seconds up, and now they're still only about 10 seconds up, so they have slowed down a bit. I don't know. Ooh, tough decision, Nate. When you pit, do you fix the damage or don't you?
I would say fix the damage. I got a few people who are much more intelligent than me, who really know their stuff, who say that once the McLaren gets a little bit of damage on it, it just completely ruins any form of aerodynamic surface that the car has and completely ruins the balance of the car. And it's better to come in and get that damage fixed because of how sensitive it is to the aero changes.
I think JDP Gaming asking what happened to Sophie Erwin's car. The answer to that is that, well, they had a couple of spins, and yes, they have pitted. That is why they are so far back, is because they have completed their mandatory pit stop, but they also were back anyway due to previous spins.
Yeah, hopefully though, with a few cars that still need to stop for pits, they can get themselves a few places on the road. I think there's a couple of cars that are out of position currently. Fox down in 12th with a couple of cars ahead of them still to pit. Gobi in 8th again with some cars ahead still to pit. But we'll have to see how it's played out for Gobi, because I'm not sure if the early stop was the way to go.
Oh, it absolutely was. You kidding me?
You think so?
Absolutely. They were going to be stuck behind Sarah Dove. They were catching them about 3/4 of a second a lap. If they would have stayed out that lap, they would have caught Dove and been losing time. Well, what did they do? They had the opportunity right as they caught them to pit, get the pit stop over with, and go back out there, find clean running space, and get it done. Now, that can backfire, though, Nate, if, let's say, Gobi catch Carlsbad here in the 69 Lexus, which they are doing, and they get stuck behind them. That could be even worse.
Yeah.
Because you'd be losing even more time. It's a decision. I applaud the decision that they made. That's the decision I would have made, but it's interesting. I by what you say, you don't think that you would.
No, I think I would stay out as we see a car just drifting wide there. Again, on the little bit.
Marin Edwards. Yep.
But no, I would have stayed out, I think, because I'd much rather be racing a car that is around my sort of pace than be stuck behind cars that are slightly slower than me, because then I'm losing more time than I would if I was racing the car at my level.
I like it. I like the difference of opinion there, as Gobi is actually going to spin, and it won't matter what the correct decision is. That will be time lost for Gobi. A spin in the final turn, so easy to do. Oh dear. And it is all coming undone here after the halfway point. About half the cars have pitted, half the cars still yet to pit. Taylor coming out of pit road. Carlsbad just went in, as you saw. Sarah Johnson in pit road in the 888. This car, Jenny Kamugli's GTR. I love that. I love being able to say there's a GTR in the field. In the top 10, but still has yet to pit. None of the top 4 currently have come in. But then again, Gobi, who did earlier, was running 3rd. Just like to take this moment to tell you, if you are interested in GT3 racing, no matter what your skill level, well, RCI has a split for you. Join our Discord in the description to get started. And no matter what, if you're brand new or you've been racing sims for 10 years, well, we can provide you some competitive racing. Sign up, get involved, and join us. We would love to have you. And all of our partners here at RCI, we'd like to thank them for all the support that they give us. Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. Thank you for everything that you do for us. And for those of you at home, if you would like to check those fine folks out, you can by visiting the description below. And well, it's been a crazy season, and today has not been any different. One race left. And though we may assume who our champions are going to be, you won't want to miss the race. So why not like and subscribe for more GT racing content? We'll be back live with you on Friday evening for the GT3 World Championship. That'll be Ryan Gill and myself. Don't miss that. And of course, Night Owl on Saturday as well. And I hear we have a race on Sunday this week. So please like and subscribe. We would love to have you. And thank you for being a part. Thank you for being well, in my opinion, and of course I'm biased, but my opinion, one of the best chats on the platform. As Charlotte Robertson going a bit wide though. Sophie Erwin trying to make up spots now. Trying to climb back inside the top 20. Needs to get this pass done. Going down the inside on the wet part. Will it stick? It looks like it will. And also sort of looked like the position was sort of given to them a little bit. Contact here between the 202 and the 95. Nicole Fox goes
risky.
for one. Oh, I see. That started several corners before it ended up in contact. Hard to place fault there for me, but if I am the Audi, I would have expected contact there with that line personally.
Yeah, it was a close one. I definitely think it was maybe a little bit brave of Fox, but she definitely had every right to be where she was.
Absolutely.
And I don't think you could blame anyone particularly for that. It was a racing incident. Unfortunately, Kamugli was doing the right thing by trying to leave room. Whoa, as we see the Audi have a little bit of a twitch. Yeah, Kamugli was doing the right thing and trying to leave space for Fox on the outside, but unfortunately took the corner too tight, hopped the curb, and then obviously you can't steer your car when your wheels are in the air. So that's what resulted in that contact. But I think no harm, no foul. Fox is right back on the back end of Kamugli. But again, see, this is now for position. So to be stuck behind cars that aren't really in your fight isn't always the best thing for your race. As we see Fox send one up the inside, Kamugli wanted to pit.
Oh, I don't know about the legality of that. Are you allowed to do that? I know in real life you're not allowed to do that, but I don't know if the sim cares or not. All right, looks like the sim doesn't care that you do that. And it's just a bit dangerous, but move made to go into pit road. This is Felipe Bokita, the leader of the race today. For those of you joining us late, the battle between Rose and Bokita was set to continue today in difficult conditions and very close in qualifying, but following a late qualifying spin by Rose has left the racetrack and indeed the series, 2 races from the finale, which has sort of handed Bokita the championship. And well, you would like to have at least seen the showdown, Nate, obviously.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, it's just unfortunate that it came to that. Well, for several other teams, it is going to be deserved podiums for a season well raced. Sarah Dove, one of those in the Les Race 177. Not always had the best luck, has Sarah Dove, but that's not what's important. What's important is being there. You got to be in it to win it, I say. And I don't know if Dove will win the race today, but another well-deserved podium. The question now becomes, with Gobi's spin earlier, who's going to be the third place in the podium? Can Gobi get back to third, or will Theory April or somebody else have that honor, perhaps?
I didn't even consider that. Of course, you're completely right. It's completely thrown the door open for a podium position for someone. So now I'm really interested to see how the end of this race is going to play out.
15 minutes and some change, and we're going to find out. But well, as per usual, Nate, I am none the wiser. I've done some maths, but I can't figure it out because they're all over the place. Some have pitted, some have not. And a move here. Oh, the 202 tries to stay off the 818 of Rangsetter, can't quite do it, and causes a spin. Now that is unfortunate for Nicole Fox. It was very obvious that Fox. Yeah, Nicole Fox did not want to do that to Rangsetter, but you can very clearly see the 202 trying to keep from doing that, but the car in the wet wiggled and went back into them.
Yeah, it was an incredible closing speed. It almost seemed as if the Bentley had a prior issue because it seemed so slow through the corner, because Fox just sped up to the back of that car like it was stood still.
Yeah, it's just you don't have time to react. You don't have time to react anyway at the speed you're going around here, but especially in the wet. It's the same thing with Bokita. Bokita got involved with Rangsetter as well. It's all victim of circumstance, but it wasn't Rangsetter or Bokita's fault. Rangsetter having a spin, Bokita just not able to stop. You just can't. You cannot slow one of these cars down in time, and accidents happen. Anderson back up into the 18th spot. Again, there's several cars that still haven't pitted. Cami, Sturch, Lee, Witcher, May have not pitted yet, but Sophie marching their way back up through the field here. Got Deb Lab in front of them, and Anderson in front of them as well.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see what the final order may be, as we see that Sophie Erowin sending one down the inside of Deb Lab. Gets it done just about, but is Deb Lab going to fight back into the next sequence of corners? Doesn't seem to. Seems like Sophie Erowin's got the move made and done.
Well done. And the number 7 will now turn their sights and focus on Anderson. Oh, and Vandenberg having a little spin. Was it a single car spin? Looks like it is going to be. Oh, it just gets the dirt. Nate, you just don't have any control.
No, especially not in the wet. It's bad enough in the dry. It feels like you're on ice in the dry. In the wet, it just feels like there's no friction. It feels like you're weightless, and it feels like you're in space, and all the momentum you've had going forward is just carrying you forward with no way to stop. There just seems to be no resistance at all. So an unfortunate spin from Vandenberg, but holds on to 17th for the time being.
Yeah, it's tough conditions, and you make a tiny error. Usually, you're able to sort of mitigate the damage, but it's just not a thing you can do here. There's so much grass. If it was tarmac asphalt, maybe, but on grass, you're just along for the ride. And like you said, you barely slow down at all. This is Elu Gobi fighting the 316, trying to go around the outside? Question mark? Oh, straight line into the chicane here. That the number 2 of Anderson having to straight line the chicane. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just got to bail. Though I'm not sure if that was a bail. Maybe Anderson couldn't drive the car. It's hard to steer the car when the front 2 tires are off the ground. So I thought maybe they hit the eject button. Maybe Anderson didn't have a choice.
Yeah, but even still, it's still wise to just straighten the steering wheel, because if you land after your wheels come off the ground with them obviously turned in one direction or the other, it would just spit the car around. So wise to keep the wheel straight and just to carry on over the grass. It'd probably be a lot easier to control the micro slide on the grass than it would be to try and control the car spearing towards the barrier.
Yes, indeed. Deb Lab has been in the mix today. Of course, we just saw that overtake a moment ago on the 316. And, well, it can be fun being in the middle as we see Lillian Sparks. I haven't talked about Lillian Sparks today, but unfortunately, yep, that's what I thought we'd see more of, by the way, running too deep into turn one. And I don't know if Sparks is going to... No, they're going to continue. Sparks is going to continue. They're just being very courteous indeed to the rest of the teams out here racing today. I thought we'd see more running deep into turn one, but no, it is quite predictably, though, the chicane, turn three, and the hairpin that have been the big problems today, and the final turn as well when you get off the line.
Yeah, it's not... I mean, obviously the whole track is slippery. It's all very wet, but it's just... You can feel the condition change when you get off this the line that's been rubbered in versus the parts of the track where you don't normally tend to stray. And it's just so... Even when you're going for an overtake, if you just maybe rock onto the slick stuff with a little bit too much steering angle, you'll unsettle the back end of the car, and then you're in a world of trouble. You either lose time and makes your overtake look pointless, or you lose the car and bounce off the walls all the way into the gravel trap. It's not a fun time.
Indeed, that is the case. I'm just wondering if we can go take a look at Gobi in the 21 up in fourth place real quick. They are past April, and nobody in front of them have pitted. Gobi's only 17 seconds behind Alice Horton. So it looks like Gobi's going to get away with this as far as a top three spot is concerned. As Sarah Dove for Les Race, this is going to be brilliant. The 177 pits finally. Remember, Dove and Gobi were going to come to a battle about halfway through this race, and Gobi peeled off. Gobi did a pit stop. I think it was a smart move. Nate would rather have passed the person that they were catching, and, well, we're not going to get a resolution to that disagreement simply because Gobi spun, and that's the part that we're interested in. Gobi spun, so how bad did that affect the number 21? We will find out. Well, it has affected them greatly as they're coming out of the chicane into the final turn, and Dove is already out of pit lane. Not the longest pit lane in the world here at the Nurburgring. So there is Gobi, and already gone by some margin is Dove. So did not affect their overall position, that spin, but it definitely probably took away an opportunity at second in this race, I think.
Yeah, I think looking at where they've come out on the track or relative to one another, I think had Gobi not made that spin, probably would have been right back on the bumper of the Lamborghini. I don't think she would have been passed, but definitely probably closer, maybe even had the opportunity to be later on the brakes around the outside into turn one as the Lamborghini was coming out of the pits, as Dove was coming out of the pits.
Final cars making their pit stops here. Just a few stubborn drivers out there that haven't done their pit stop. You can stop at any time. There is no pit window in the DDC. What happened to Anderson here? Little drift comp, and then an overtake. That's one for the highlight reel.
It's those kind of slides that sometimes sliding through the corner can be quicker, but it's always those accidental slides that make you quicker. I don't think anyone, at least not me personally, could ever recreate a slide that they've had accidentally to go faster around the lap. I don't know if you've had it, Jesse, where you get a slide into maybe one corner that you think you're going to nail, you just get a little bit too hard on the brakes, lock up, get the back end round, and then you rock it through the corner. You're like, oh, that was faster. I wish I could do that more often.
As a very good friend of mine and a friend of RCI as well, Random Call Sign over at his YouTube channel, Random Call Sign would say, drifting saved my life. And we joke about that, but legitimately, I have avoided incidences by wrecking myself, by effectively slowing myself down. And
Ooh,
I've never done it to overtake somebody. Sarah Dove getting all sorts of sideways in the Lamborghini through the stadium section. I
nobody
wonder what
likes
caused.
stadium.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, not even stadium like stadium. I don't know why that happened to them there. That's a very odd moment to break traction, but nevertheless, it did happen. Our producer just told us in our ear that he loves the stadium section, and well, Stewie, for you that makes perfect sense.
I was gonna say that's a patriotic thing, isn't it?
That's that's not where I was going with that, but now that you mentioned it, now I'm suspicious. Oh, they're not. I'm not repeating that as we continue on here. The final 5 minutes of the race here at the ring. Been a very wet one throughout. Season finale coming up next Wednesday. It's going to be sad to see it go, Nate. I've become attached to this series. It's going to be almost like a drug. Can't get enough of racing that it's just so unpredictable. We've seen a mix of dramas, overtakes, and I think for me at least, I'll speak for myself. There there's there's a few drivers out here that have another fan after this series.
Yep, I'd definitely be inclined to agree with you. I really do hope we get a season 2. Charlie Martin, if you watch this stream back, get it in the works, get that ball rolling. Let's have a season 2. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, this championship wouldn't have happened without Charlie Martin putting the word out and setting it up for everyone to come and have a race. So hopefully she'll do the same for a season 2, and we can all meet back here and do it all over again.
We got Mikey Plow in chat, and their day has come to an end. Said that they were just off, just had a bad day. It's all right. It happens to everybody. I mean, there's no shame in having a bad day. Everybody has them eventually. And even Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from races and or finished last. Nobody is perfect, and nothing demonstrates that nobody is perfect better than sim racing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems though the only time we ever catch some of these racers, as they've frequently complained about, is when we see them making mistakes. And I think in future, if anyone brings that up to me, I'm just going to say we're just showing your human side.
Well, I've definitely never had a perfect race, and I'm fairly convinced nobody has. So, final few minutes. Final few minutes of the race. I'm just ignoring our broadcaster and producer at this point. Final few minutes of the race. Looks like it's going to shake out Bokita, Dove, and Gobi, the podium for your pro drivers, and that will be the overall podium. Silver shaken out to be Taylor, Horton, and Fox, though Fox is not that far behind Horton. It is not beyond the realm of possibility that Fox catches Horton. And of course, the AM is going to be Fury April, who is basically on another planet over Witcher and Delcina, the top 3 there. As pass here, 14th place. Erwin making the pass. Overtake, gets it done. Well done indeed. As the pass takes place in the final turn, but you got to be careful. You can't put yourself in danger in turn 1. Nothing of that nature happening for the AKM Racing UK Bentley. Well, Mike Jones did come through the back of the box a few moments ago, and he handed me a slip of paper. It is to do with a Diamond Drive Cup number 2 or season number 2. And well, it's a bunch of gobbledygook to me. It is a bunch of stipulations and stuff like that. So all I can say is the potential for a season 2 is there in some form or another if the drivers want to sign up and participate. And even not commentating, I would still be there to watch and show my support one way or another. As the final few seconds tick down here, we will get one more lap out of Felipe Bokita, who halfway through this race was involved in an incident with another car, but that has not deterred them. They lost quite a substantial amount of time, but never the lead, and it's never really been in doubt ever since turn 1, as you see May get a bit sideways. That has been the tale of the day today. Cars jumping sideways, breaking traction, and once again, here we go. Commentators curse round number 55 as Verena May goes sideways. And we've seen this so often today. You get on that green part of the curb, no grip. You can see the light illuminate the curb, the reflection in it. Very slick indeed, no grip, and you hit the gas and you're gone. But for Felipe Bokita, they would have liked to have raced Rose one-on-one for the championship. Bokita, the beneficiary of so many variables. Calm, cool, collected is Felipe Bokita. Other than the Olton Park, which could be the dropped round for them, it has been dang near perfect for It's Okay to Not Be Okay's McLaren, as Sketch Reina is off of the track.
Well,
I'm not even sure where that is.
that's a stadium section, is it not? That's between
No. Is
turns
it?
3 and 4. Yeah.
Oh, very well indeed.
Or 2 and
Very
3,
well
sorry.
spotted. I have never seen that inside barrier, but for Felipe Bokita, it's going to be another win in the Diamond Drive Cup. Bokita comes across the line, wins the race, and potentially the championship here today with one round to go. The 326 unstoppable. As for Sarah Dove for the Les Race 177, an excellently ran race. Pit stop on point. Being ran down by Gobi, but it won't be enough with the mistake. Sarah Dove second. And for Elu Gobi, it's going to be a podium for the Map 1 Racing 21 team. But they will ask, what could have been without the spin? The podium complete. Fury April is going to come across the line, winning an AM ahead of all the silvers. And 4th place overall for Swift Sharks AMG. Not far behind Catherine Taylor, the Seaside 765 Racing team, and the number 13 winning in silver. Right behind them, Horton in 6th place, and Fox coming across the line in 3rd place for silver. Cami Sturch, 8th place. Oh, there's collisions coming to the line with some of the backmarking cars. What happens here? Lexus up the inside, maneuver there, and look at this. Look at the Aston go through the inside. Excellent maneuver. And that was very nice indeed. Sturch 8th, Carlsvard 9th. Lee in 10th is going to round out your top 10. Ginny Kamugli in the GTR. What a job they've done in Gayzilla 95 GTR. Kamugli comes across the line 11th place. And then we'll finally have our next AM podium finisher. Celine Witcher, turn 1 Diamonds. Number 12 Bentley is going to finish 2nd in AM today. Another well-deserved podium for Witcher. Well fought. And at one point, I think they were racing outside the podium. So excellent indeed. Sarah Johnson, 13th. Erwin, 14th. And Delcina in the 76 AMG will round out not only the top 15, but the AM podium. Nate, it was pretty much what we thought we were going to see today from a racing standpoint. More single car incidents than we're used to seeing because of the weather, but some gutsy performances out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of accidents that we didn't see. It seemed everyone in the rain just took it a little bit easier than perhaps they would have done if it was dry. But having the rain definitely spiced it up a little bit. We saw a lot of cars struggling for the grip, especially on the curbs, which allowed people to gain positions that they might otherwise not have been able to get. So, really good racing. Some of the racing was just spectacular to watch. A lot of really nice overtakes, a few clumsy ones, but that's to be expected. But overall, Jesse, I think we had an amazing event here. And honestly, if I had to pick one out of the 5 we've seen so far, this was the best one.
This race was unpredictable. It was interesting. And, well, again, drama for the leader did not cost them this week, but dramas for the leader, it does happen in this overtake here between Erwin. This was back on the third lap, I believe. But just a crazy race in the wet, and it seems to be like this. We often say this, but we mean it. It seems like sometimes in the wet, the passing is more careful and more clean, and we saw so many overtakes that were very clean indeed today. And well, the championships may be decided for the top positions, but that doesn't mean they're decided from second on back. To figure out where everybody finishes up in this championship, we're all going to have to come back next week. Why not subscribe, hit that bell, and join us next Wednesday? And if you don't have anything else to do on Friday afternoon, you can join Ryan Gill and me for the GT World Championship Series. We would love to have you there as well. I believe that's the finale, the 75-minute finale of that series. And of course, we have Night Owl on Saturday night for all of you Night Owls. And I believe we have a race on Sunday as well, a longer British GT sort of race. And, well, we would love to see it. Well, for us, though, Nate, one more race to go. Unpredictability in the way the championship standings are going to shake out for the podium spots. I think we're going to go out in style next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as it's the season finale and everyone's going to be trying to make up those last few positions on the leaderboard, but also not looking forward to it as it's potentially the end of the DDC series.
It is, but hope on the horizon for a DDC championship moving forward. Putting it in the driver's hands is RCI's Mike Jones, and certainly plans being made potentially that could be seen in actuality at some point in the future. Well, folks, it was a wet day at the ring. It was a fun day at the ring, but it was also a frustrating day for some people. A race that started with promise for some, ended in drama early, and it was a bit of a wet and wild ride, but we would expect nothing else from this series and, well, ACC in general. For RCI and everybody here, I am Jesse Lee, Nate, and Stewie in the broadcast booth. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. We hope that we see you on Friday. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of our partners, and we'll see you next week for the conclusion of the Diamond Drive Cup.